Hi everyone. So in this session, we will be going to know about PCR and also about the ELISA, which comes under paper 2 for your syllabus. And for your sixth semester, I will be undergoing only paper 2 session, in that unit 3 completely and unit 5 only about PCR and ELISA. So let's discuss about the PCR and ELISA now. So firstly, we will talk about PCR. We all know that PCR, it is a polymerase chain reaction, a technique used to make numerous copies of specific segment of DNA quickly and accurately. The polymerase chain reaction enables the investigator to obtain large quantities of DNA that are required for various experiments and procedures in molecular biology, forensic analysis, evolutionary biology, and medical diagnostic. So, in the year 1983, Carey Mullis described the technique of in vitro gene amplification and named it as the PCR, that is, polymerase chain reaction. Later, he was awarded the Nobel Prize for finding this. However, the story of a PCR was begun when the Taq DNA polymerase was isolated from the thermostable bacteria. In 1996, Thomas D. Brock had discovered the bacteria from the hot spring of water and named it as Thermus aquaticus. Later on, it was isolated DNA polymerase from the Thermus aquaticus, that is named as the Taq DNA polymerase. The PCR, that is polymerase chain reaction, is a temperature dependent process of DNA amplification. The machine used in PCR technique is known as the thermocycler. So why it is said as thermocycler machine? So here the machine thermocycler provides various temperature for each step to complete, and the steps are denaturation, annealing and extension of the DNA. Here the DNA occur at different temperature, thus the machine is known as the thermocycler. And here you can see the word PCR is made up of polymerase, Taq DNA polymerase plus chain cyclic reaction plus reaction biological activity, and hence we can get the Taq DNA polymerase, and that cycle is known as the PCR. And if we talk about the principle, the PCR makes it possible to obtain by in vitro replication multiple copies of DNA fragment from the extract, and matrix DNA can be genomic DNA as well as complementary DNA obtained by RT-PCR. RT means reverse transcriptase PCR from a messenger RNA extract, and also even mitochondrial DNA. So, it is a technique for obtaining large amounts of specific DNA sequence from the DNA sample. This amplification is based on the replication of double stranded DNA template. So, it is a breakdown into three phases, that is denaturation phase, hybridization phase with the primers, and elongation phase, and the products of each synthesis steps serve as a template for the following steps. Thus, the exponential amplification is achieved here. And the polymerase chain reaction is carried out in reaction mixture which comprises the DNA extract, that is the template DNA, Taq polymerase, and also the primers, and you can see 4 deoxyribonucleotide triphosphates, they are DNTPs, in the access in the buffer solution. So we can say that PCR is the technique in which using the DNTPs, primers, Taq DNA polymerase, and template DNA can produce the artificial gene synthesis can be done here. So the time duration for the PCR is around 1 hour to 4 hours. If we talk about the reagents of the PCR, you can see template DNA, PCR primers, DNTPs, Taq DNA polymerase, and PCR buffer solutions are the major reagents of the PCR. And the instruments and the other utilities like thermal cyclers, spinners. Spinner are nothing but centrifuges, and you will see PCR tubes, PCR tips, aerogel electrophoresis, micropipette, and tube rack. So these are the instruments and other utilities which are used in the PCR techniques. So now we will know about the reagents one by one. Firstly, we will talk about the template DNA. The template must be DNA only. The plasmid DNA, bacterial DNA, cDNA, or gDNA can be utilized as the template. The template DNA should be highly purified DNA that has purity of around 1.80 and quantity of up to 200 ng. The DNA works as a substrate for an enzyme when it denaturates. The good quality of extracted DNA can boost the resulting efficiency of the polymerase chain reaction. The ideal concentration of the gDNA for PCR reaction is 30 ng with 260 by 280 absorbance ratio of 1.80. Second one, that is primer. It's another important PCR ingredient, that is the PCR primers. RNA primer governs the replication reaction. Normally, however, the DNA primers are utilized during the PCR instead of the RNA primers. The PCR primers are artificially synthesized oligonucleotide sequence of the DNA ranging from 18 to 22 bases in length. Short DNA sequence which anneals the single strand template DNA at its exact complementary position. For increasing the efficiency of the primers, we should follow the proper guidelines while creating the primers, that is genetic code GC. The GC content, melting temperature, length, and the primer complementation capacity of the primers are key factors for the primer designing. And third one, that is deoxyribonucleotides. So they are artificially synthesized nucleotides which bind to the growing end of the DNA strand with the help of the tag DNA polymerase. So here always adenine pairs with the thymine and cytosine pairs with the guanine. With the help of the two hydrogen bonds, A pairs with T, and with the help of the three hydrogen bonds, C pairs with G. Next one, that is tag polymerase. The PCR technique is entirely based on the activity of the tag DNA polymerase. If tag DNA polymerase was not discovered, the PCR might not be discovered. Thermostability, the unique property of the tag, makes amplification possible during the PCR. The thermostability means it can work finely at higher temperature. Notably, on other bodily enzymes can function at the higher temperature more than 37 degrees Celsius. The tag DNA polymerase settles at single strand DNA, that is AAS DNA primer junction, and utilizes it as a substrate for the catalytic reaction. In the final step of the extinction using the substrate, it starts DNTP insertion, and here 1 unit of tag is sufficient for the 25 μl PCR reaction. And next reagents comes, there is a PCR buffer solutions. They are the enhancer which help to boost the reaction and amplification efficiency. Thus the PCR buffer is as important as the other ingredients. Additionally, the PCR buffer maintains the constant pH of the reaction in nearly around 7.9 to 8.5 by keeping the constant chemical environment for the PCR reaction. The pH of the buffer is controlled by the addition of the tris, that is MgCl2, DMSO, and KCl, albumin, betaine, BSA, glycerol, and other reagents. By addition of this, the PCR buffer solutions can be controlled. However, in each of the PCR buffer solution, the MgCl2 must be included because it is worked as a cofactor of the tag DNA polymerase. And next, the process of the PCR. So in this process, there are three steps. The first step is denaturation, second step annealing, and the third one is extinction. So in denaturation, here the temperature is around 90 degrees Celsius to 95 degrees Celsius. In this denaturation, two single stranded DNA forms from double stranded DNA at 94 degrees Celsius temperature. The double stranded DNA opens by breaking hydrogen bonds, and the process of the denaturation is followed by the initial denaturation for 5 to 7 minutes at the same time. So in denaturation, the double stranded DNA opens up by breaking the hydrogen bonds, and next comes the annealing. So here the annealing The temperature is around 55 degrees Celsius to 65 degrees Celsius. After the denaturation, the primer anneals to the single stranded DNA at its exact annealing temperature. So, based on the genetic code content of the primers, every primer has its own annealing temperature, and the annealing temperature is usually ranging from 55 to 65 degrees Celsius. And the annealing temperature, if it is low, then it leads to the non-specific binding. If it's high, it leads to the amplification failure, and the process is of 45 seconds to 1 minute is enough for the second step. If the annealing is more than 1 minute, it causes to the amplification, that is specific amplification. And the next one is the third one, that is extension. So here this temperature ranges from 70 to 72 degrees Celsius after the binding of the primer. So here you can see, after the binding of the primer, it's time for the expand of the DNA strand, and here the extension step, the tag DNA polymerase comes in action and adds the DNTPs to the DNA strand, and the temperature for the extension is 70 to 72 degrees Celsius. It lasts around 45 seconds. Here you can see the steps of the PCR: denaturation, annealing and extension. In denaturation, what happens? The double stranded DNA opens by breaking up the hydrogen bonds, and the temperature is around 90 degrees Celsius to 95 degrees Celsius. And the next one, annealing. So what happens in annealing? The temperature is around 55 degrees Celsius to 65 degrees Celsius, and here, on the basis of the genetic code content of the primers, every primer has its own annealing temperature. If the annealing temperature is low, then it leads to the non-specific binding. If it's high, it leads to the amplification failure, and it must be only around 45 seconds to 1 minute. If it's more than 1 minute, it leads to the failure of the amplification. Third step, that is extension. It lies around 70 degrees Celsius to 72 degrees Celsius. Here what happens? There is a addition of the DNTPs with the help of the tag DNA polymerase. Here you can see the how the DNA is taken for the process of the PCR. If we talk about the machine of PCR, the PCR machine is known as the thermocycler. This means they simply a heating block, just like an iron box, which provides the constant temperature and even rapidly changes the temperature states. The machine has lower block. Here you can see it. The machine has lower block of the metal having deep wells for putting the PCR. Here you can place the PCR tubes. Also, the temperature of the inner environment is maintained by the heating block present on the upper side of the lid. Further, the machine contains the display, power on and off switches, and cooling assembly. The machine has ability to heat and cool the PCR tubes in short period of the time. And there are many types of the PCR: conventional PCR, gradient PCR, real time RT-PCR. RT means reverse transcriptase. Multiplex PCR, ARMS PCR, touchdown PCR, clone PCR, in situ PCR, immuno PCR, etc. So there are many types you can see in the PCRs. And how the PCR is used in the detection of the plant analysis. The product of the PCR consists of one or more DNA fragments. You can see here. So it consists of one or more DNA fragments, and the detection and analysis of the products can be very quickly carried by agarose gel electrophoresis. The DNA revealed by the ethidium bromide staining, thus the products are instantly visible by ultraviolet translumination around 280 to 320 nanometers. Very small products are often visible very close to the migration front in the form of more or less diffuse bands. They correspond to dimers and sometimes to the primers themselves. Depending on the reaction conditions, non-specific DNA fragments may be amplified to greater or lesser extent, forming a net bands or smear bands on the automate systems. The fragments analyzer is now used so that this apparatus using the principle of the capillary electrophoresis, the fragments detection is formed or performed by the laser diode. So this is only possible if the PCR is performed with the primers coupled to the fluorochromes. And coming to the applications. So PCR has numerous applications in the biological research as well as the diagnostic resources. So DNA fingerprinting and genetic imprinting, that is we can see PCR are used in gene editing, gene manipulation, genetic engineering, DNA and RNA quantification, cDNA and gDNA library preparation, and also in the diagnosis of the inherited diseases. So here the PCR is most routinely used in the diagnosis of some inherited diseases such as sickle cell anemia, gene mutation, etc. So this technique is appropriate a single gene disorder, and next it is applied in the microbial identification, like the microbial culture technique is traditional and time consuming. The chance of the infection is also high in case of the culturing. So in the modern days, PCR is used in identification of the microbes. So these are the applications of the PCR. I hope you guys understood well about the PCR. So next, continue about the next topic, that is ELISA. ELISA is the basic assay technique known as enzyme linked immunosorbent assay, also referred as ELIA, enzyme immunoassay, that carried out to detect and measure the antibodies, hormones, peptides, and proteins in the blood. The antibodies are blood proteins produced in response to a specific antigen. It helps to examine the presence of the antibodies in the body in case of certain infection or diseases. If we talk about the principle of the ELISA, ELISA works on the principle that specific antibody binds the target antigen and detect the presence of the quantity of antigen binding. In order to increase the sensitivity and precisity of the assay, the plates must be coated with antibodies with high affinity. So you can see, so this is the kit of the ELISA. So there are 96 to 384 wells here. Okay, so the hollow region is known as the well where the antibodies are placed. So this ELISA can provide a useful measurement of an antigen antibody concentration. Okay, so the setup of an ELISA assay, there must be a capture of the antibody on a multi-well plated immobilize the antigen of the interest. So the antigen will be recognized and bound by the detection of the antibody during the biotin and streptavidin HRP. They are the chemicals. And ELISA SE, it is a typically performed a multi-well plate, that is it consists of 96 to 384 wells. So the hollow regions, they are known as the well, and this is a plate. So in this plate there are 96 to 384 wells, so which provide a solid surface to immobilize the antigen, and the immobilization of the analytes facilitates the separation of the antigen from the rest of the components in the sample. So this characteristic makes the ELISA one of the easiest assay to perform on multiple samples simultaneously. If you see the types of ELISA, there are two types, non-competitive and competitive. In non-competitive, there are again three types. They are indirect ELISA, direct ELISA, and sandwich ELISA. So the first one we are going to study is indirect ELISA now. So in indirect ELISA, what happens? It detects the presence of antibody in the sample. Okay, so here you can see it. So it detects the presence of the antibody in the sample, and the antigen is attached to the wells of the microtitray plate. So this is the microtitray plate. So here the antigen is attached to the microtitray plate and the sample containing the antibody. So this is the sample, the blue color is the sample. So the sample containing the antibody is added to the antigen coated well for binding with the antigen. So this antigen, after placing in the microtitray plate, so it is coated by the antibody solutions. Okay, so the free primary antibodies are washed away, and then antigen antibody complex is detected by adding the secondary antibody conjugated with enzyme that can bind the primary antibody. Okay, so all the free secondary antibodies are washed away. A specific substrate is added which gives the color product, and the absorbance of the color product is measured the spectrophotometry. So what happens in indirect ELISA? So it detects the presence of the antibody in the sample, then antigen is attached to the well of the microtitray plate, then the sample containing antibody is added to the antigen coated wells for binding with the antigen. Then what happens? A free primary antibodies are washed away, and then antigen antibody complex is detected by the addition of the secondary antibody which conjugate with the enzyme that can bind with the primary antibody. Then all the free secondary antibodies are washed away, then a specific substrate is added which gives the color to the product, and the absorbance of the color product is measured by the spectrophotometry. Then comes the second one, that is direct ELISA. The direct ELISA, here the target antigen is first coated into multi-well plate and then detected by the enzyme linked antibody. Here there is advantage and disadvantage. Advantage is that it is a simple and quick to perform due to minimal steps required, and then disadvantages are the specificity of the primary antibody may be affected by the enzyme linking. Then the linking antibody of each specificity ELISA experiment is very expensive and time consuming. The third one, that is sandwich ELISA. It helps to detect the presence of the antigen in a sample. Here, the microtray well is coated by the antibody, and the sample containing the antigen is added to the well and washed to remove the free antigens. Then, enzyme linked secondary antibody, which binds to the another epitope on the antigen, is added. The well is washed to remove any free secondary antibodies. Here, then the enzyme specificity substrate is added to a plate to form a colored product which can be measured. So what happens here? There are 5 steps. The first step is it detects the presence of the antigen in a sample. Then the microwell is coated by the antibody. Then the samples containing antigen are removed or washed with the help of the antigens. Then the enzyme linked secondary antibody binds the another antigen which is added. Then the well is washed to remove the free secondary antibodies, and the specific substrate is added to the plate to form a colored product which can be measured with the help of the spectrophotometer. And the next one, that is competitive ELISA. In competitive ELISA, it helps to detect the antigen concentration in the sample. Then microtray wells are coated with the antigen. Antibodies are incubated in the solution having the antigen here, and the solution of the antigen antibody complex is added to the microtray wells. Then the well is washed to remove the unwanted antibodies. More the concentration of the antigen in the sample, so you will get the lesser antibodies, and then the enzyme linked secondary antibody is added to detect the number of primary antibodies which are present in the well, and then the concentration is then determined by the spectrophotometer. If we see the procedure, ELISA is one of the easiest blood tests that can be carried out here. So it is rapid, quick, and requires blood sample of the patient. ELISA begins with the coating step where the first layer, either an antigen or antibody, is absorbed too well in the ELISA plate. Coating is followed by the blocking and detection step as shown in the image. Since the assay uses the surface binding for the separation, several washes are repeated between each ELISA step to remove the unwanted materials. During this process, it is essential that liquid is removed in order to prevent the dilution of the solution, adding in the next stages. For greatest consistency, specialized plates washed are used. So ELISA can be quite complex, including various intervening steps and the ability to measure the protein concentrations in heterogeneous samples such as blood. The most complex and various step in the overall process is the detection, where the multiple layers of antibodies can be used to amplify the signals, and the signals are amplified in the spectrophotometry. Seeing through the results after the procedure, the ultimate step of the ELISA process includes the calculation of the results, which require to be paid a special attention as the success of the whole process lies on it. The ELISA assay produces data output into three different types. They are quantitative, qualitative, and semi-quantitative. The quantitative here, the data can be inferred via compression with a standard curve, which generally a serially diluted sample of a purified unknown concentration of the antigen. This requirement is necessary in order to accurately compute the concentration of an antigen in a given unknown sample. And in qualitative, sometimes it is not mandatory to analyze the exact concentration of an analyte present in the sample. Instead, only information about its presence or absence is mandatory in arriving at the conclusions. ELISA can be applied to attain such an analysis, where it indicates whether a particular antigen is present or absent in a sample when compared to a control well without an antigen, which can sometimes also be dissimilar antigen also. Coming to the semi-quantitative, in this format, the ELISA are compared with the relative amounts of the antigen in samples. This is so because the strength of the signals obtained will vary proportionally with the antigen concentration. Here, the data output in ELISA is characteristically plotted with the graph at the last. So the graph is a sigmoid curve. For the generation of the standard curve, the amount of the antigen is known for the sample are exploited. So therefore, the linear proportion of the standard curve obtained in the previous steps, they are exploited to quantify the amount of the unknown antigen present in the sample. Actually, the relatively extended linear proportion of the standard curves gives the reproducible and accurate results in the ELISA. And the unknown concentration can be calculated by using the plotted graph or by using the software for the curve fitting. So these are the equipments used during the ELISA detection. There are advantages and disadvantages. Advantages, it may be like it is common for the ELISA to detect the antigen at the picogram level in very specific manner due to the use of antibodies. And commercial ELISA kits are normally available in 96 well plate format, but assay can be easily adapted to 384 well plates. Protocols are easy, means it is easy to perform and involve very little hand on time, means time consuming. It can determine the concentration of antigen in sample, and the serums, plasma, cellular, and tissues extract, urine, and saliva, among others, are easily tested by using the ELISA. Disadvantage is that the detection is based on the enzyme substrate reaction, and the formation limited to the amount or the presence of the antigen in the sample. ELISA can be used in the detection of Ebola, pernicious anemia, AIDS, rotavirus, Lyme disease, syphilis, toxoplasmosis, Zika virus, and carcinoma of the epithelial cells. Having a look on its application, there are many applications of the ELISA. The presence of the antibody and antigen in a sample, here it can be determined. It is used in the food industries to detect any food allergen which are present in the food, to determine the concentration of the serum antibody in the virus test. During a disease outbreak, to evaluate the spread of the disease like COVID 19 outbreaks, rapid testing kits are being used to determine the presence of the antibodies in a blood sample. I hope you guys understood well about the PCR and ELISA. Thank you.